Well, speaking of using children to achieve their political goals, the Health and Human Services Department, run by, of course, the Trans Secretary Admiral Rachel Levin, is trying to once again mutilate children. I call it mutilation, which is against federal law. But they're pushing this idea that if we do not provide government funding or government support for children to get trans-friendly operations, that we risk pushing them to the brink of suicide. And they cite data from the Trevor Project. And that data says 41% of LGBTQ youth consider suicide unless they get, some kind of operation or additional services. Your thoughts on this approach?
Well, the Daily Signal was able to uncover this document that went out from the Department of Health and Human Services, and I think it exposes the left's agenda. They will do whatever they can to push the LGBTQ propaganda on America and particularly young children. Now, when you look at actual scientific studies, remember the left is always lecturing us about look at the science, look at the data. Well, if you look at that science and data, you will find that actually these gender-affirming surgeries, these transgender surgeries, increase the risk of kids committing suicide by significant margins, by the way. And so we need to be taking an opposite approach. We need parents to counsel and comfort their children when they're experiencing these challenges. We don't need to immediately rush them to the surgery table and make life-altering decisions that they will come to regret.
It just seems like such an ongoing joke that we have a person who clearly seems to have some mental health issues, is not exactly the most fit person we've ever had as Secretary of Health and Human Resources, right? This is the same person who was also arguing to lower the age of transition operations on children, which again is such a radical idea. And I never thought we would be sitting in any situation in our lifetimes talking about this topic. But this administration just accelerates the most radical positions of all of these social conversations. And it's amazing how quickly they grab hold and how quickly they end up taking effect in little ways.
Well, the progressive Democrats who run this administration right now are obviously trying to do this not just at the Department of Health and Human Services, but throughout the federal government and trying to push it down into other local and state governments as well. And so whatever they can do, whether it be grant money or other initiatives, regulations, they will try to impose this agenda on the American people. Now, the good news is that I think the American people largely are rejecting it. They see the absurdity of some of their arguments. They see the real life consequences of individuals who regret making those gender transitions. And now you have a whole group of people who have detransitioned and are issuing the warnings to young Americans that this is not the path that they need to take. They need to seek other options rather than rushing in and making these decisions that will affect them for the rest of their lives.
Now, you're great points, as always. Daily Signal is always on the forefront on catching the administration when they're trying to sneak one past the American people. So we appreciate the work you guys are doing out there. Thank you for the time. Thanks for the stories. Up next, the CEO of Louder with Crowder, Gerald Morgan Jr., stops by to discuss their explosive undercover reporting just published this morning. Take a look.